The story begins with a god waking up after 5,000 years asleep, and deciding the entire world needs to burn so he can rebuild it in his own image. He was buried, forgotten, and left for dead in the ruins of an ancient civilization. And when he finally opens his eyes again, he doesn't recognize a single thing about the world he's woken up into. That single moment sets off a chain of events that will destroy families, level cities, and force a group of untested teenagers into the fight of their lives. So stick around, because by the end of this video you'll understand exactly how this ancient threat nearly wiped out humanity, why a peaceful family man got dragged back into war, and why one particular hero simply refused to stay out of this story no matter how hard the movie tried to keep him on the sidelines. Long before recorded history, in ancient Egypt, there lived a mutant so powerful that his followers worshipped him as a literal god. His ability allowed him to jump from one body to another, absorbing the powers of other mutants and extending his own life far beyond what should be possible. To his followers, he wasn't just powerful, he was eternal, untouchable, a being who existed above the normal rules of life and death. During a ritual meant to transfer his consciousness into a new and even more powerful host, a group of rebellious slaves rises up against him and brings the entire temple crashing down around him. He's buried alive in the wreckage, completely powerless, trapped beneath the earth for thousands of years while the world moves on without him. Fast forward to 1983. That buried god does not stay buried forever. He's uncovered and awakened by a group of followers who still worship him. He's furious, disoriented, and instantly convinced of one single truth: humanity has grown weak, corrupt, and undeserving of the world it has built. In his mind, the only solution is to tear it all down and start over from nothing. This is his entire mission for the rest of the film, and it might be one of the simplest, most Old Testament motivations you'll ever see in a comic book movie. He doesn't want money. He doesn't want revenge for something specific. He wants to erase civilization and remake it exactly the way he sees fit. While our ancient villain is stirring back to life, we meet the people whose lives are about to be turned completely upside down. There's a young woman with the ability to shapeshift who has spent years drifting from place to place, breaking mutants out of illegal underground fighting rings instead of settling down anywhere. She's become something of a legend in certain circles, even though she'd never in a million years describe herself as a hero. She carries herself like someone who's seen too much and trusts very few people, and that instinct is about to be tested in a major way. There's also a powerful telepath running a school for young mutants, quietly training the next generation and trying to build a future where humans and mutants can actually coexist in peace. And then there's a man with the extraordinary ability to control metal, someone who fought beside that same telepath years earlier before their conflicting beliefs violently tore them apart. By 1983, this man has chosen to walk away from all of it. He's taken on a new identity in another country, living quietly with a wife and a young daughter, working an ordinary job, desperately trying to be a normal father instead of the weapon he once was. Hold on to that detail, because it becomes the emotional center of everything that follows. Just as this former warrior starts to believe he's truly escaped his old life for good, disaster finds him anyway. His powers accidentally reveal themselves in public at his workplace, word spreads fast, and before he can process what's happening, authorities show up at his home to take him in. His young daughter tries to protect her family using her own newly emerging mutant ability, desperate and scared in a moment that should never have happened to a child. In the chaos and confusion that follows, an arrow flies off course, and his wife and daughter are killed right in front of him. It's the single most devastating moment in the entire film, and it shatters him completely. The peaceful, ordinary life he tried so hard to build disappears in an instant, and in his grief and blind rage he kills the men responsible. Any hope of him staying neutral, staying hidden, staying out of the coming storm, dies right along with his family. This is the wound the entire movie is built around, a man who wanted nothing more than to be ordinary, punished by the world the moment he tried to have it. Meanwhile, our ancient villain is busy assembling his army. He seeks out mutants with extraordinary abilities and enhances their powers even further, transforming ordinary fighters into loyal followers he treats as his chosen warriors. Among them is a young woman who can summon and control the weather itself, a fierce fighter armed with a psychic energy weapon, and a mutant with wings who becomes something closer to a living weapon than an actual person by the time the transformation is finished. And then there's the grieving metal controller, still reeling from losing everything that mattered to him. When the ancient villain finds him and offers him limitless power along with a promise of purpose, he accepts without much hesitation. Grief has hollowed him out completely, and vengeance is the only thing left strong enough to fill that space. With his new followers now in place, the ancient villain sets his real plan into motion, using their combined powers to bring the entire modern world to its knees. Back at the mutant school, a handful of new faces arrive who will become central to everything that happens next. There's a young man who can't yet control the destructive energy blasts firing from his eyes, a teenage girl with powerful telepathic and telekinetic abilities who has been kept in the dark about just how strong she really is, and a nervous teleporter still learning to trust both himself and the people around him. These kids are being trained, tested, and slowly folded into something like a found family. None of them have any idea that they're about to be thrown into the fight of their lives far sooner than anyone expected, or that the peaceful lessons they're learning today are about to become the exact skills that keep them alive tomorrow. But here's where everything shifts into high gear. Our ancient villain begins demonstrating just how far his ambitions truly reach, hijacking global systems and making it terrifyingly clear that no government, no army, and no weapon on Earth can stand in his way. He sets his sights on the telepathic mentor from the school, recognizing that gaining control of the most powerful mind on the planet would let him control all of humanity without lifting a single finger. It's a chillingly efficient plan. Why destroy the world by force when you can simply take over the minds already running it? When the mentor is captured, chaos erupts almost immediately. Buildings collapse, lives are lost, and the students who were just starting to settle into their new lives at the school are suddenly forced into a real, deadly fight before any of them are even close to ready. The calm, structured world they were promised is gone in an instant. In the middle of all this destruction, one especially dangerous and half-feral mutant gets freed from captivity, a man with metal claws and a violent, fragmented past that stretches back further than anyone else in this story. He tears through everyone in his path with brutal, terrifying efficiency, a walking reminder of exactly how much damage a single unleashed mutant can cause when pushed too far. His appearance isn't really connected to the main plot in any meaningful way. Instead, it works as a gut-punch reminder that some of the deepest scars in this world were carved long before the ancient villain ever woke up, and that not every monster in this story is 5,000 years old. With the mentor captured and the world crumbling around them, the rest of the team faces an impossible set of choices. Do they try to save their captured leader? Do they try to talk their grieving, rage-filled friend back from the edge? Or do they try to physically stop a being who has spent thousands of years convinced he is untouchable? The emotional climax of this movie doesn't come from a bigger explosion or a flashier power. It comes from someone finally reaching the metal-controlling man and reminding him that he isn't as alone in this world as he believes. That the family he lost doesn't erase the family he still has standing right in front of him. It's the kind of moment that shifts the entire battle, because the second his heart changes, so does the balance of power in this fight. What follows is a full-scale clash of abilities, psychic warfare, elemental attacks, and raw physical power all colliding at once against a villain who genuinely believed nothing could ever touch him. And for the first time in 5,000 years, he's forced to learn just how wrong that belief really was. When the dust finally settles, the cost is enormous. Cities lie in ruins, countless lives were lost, and the people left standing have to reckon with the fact that the world will never fully return to what it was before this villain woke up. The survivors rebuild what they can, quite literally using their own powers to reconstruct their home from the rubble it's been reduced to. But this movie makes a deliberate point of not wrapping everything up too neatly. Grief doesn't just evaporate because the villain is finally gone. The man who lost his family walks away from the wreckage still carrying that weight with him, unwilling or maybe just unable to fully rejoin the world he once tried so hard to belong to. By the end, a new version of the team has been forged, quite literally, out of tragedy and loss. The students who arrived nervous and unsure of themselves are now the ones who help save the entire world. And the story leaves us with an uncomfortable truth sitting right beneath the surface: peace in this world is never permanent, it's just the quiet stretch of calm sitting in between the next storm. What makes this story genuinely stick with you isn't the ancient god or the apocalyptic stakes splashed across every trailer. It's the quieter tragedy running underneath all of it, a man who just wanted an ordinary life, punished the moment he tried to build one, and pushed toward total destruction by grief before finally being pulled back from the edge by connection. That's a far more human story than anything involving pyramids or world-ending powers. So here's a question worth sitting with. If you were in his position, having lost absolutely everything you tried so hard to build, do you think you could have found your way back, or do you think rage would have won in the end? Drop your honest answer down in the comments. I genuinely want to know where you land on this one. And if you're enjoying deep dives like this, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next breakdown.